My wife divorced me by text message and drained our savings while I was at work. Her message read, "Don't bother coming home. You're dead to me." I called her sister in a panic, and she just laughed. "You should have seen this coming." My hands shook as I dialed our bank, only to hear, "There's nothing left." It all started on a Tuesday, but not just any Tuesday. This one had that weird feeling in the air, like something wasn't quite right, but you couldn't put your finger on it. You ever get those days? You wake up, nothing's wrong. Not exactly, but the silence feels too quiet. Like the world's holding its breath. Anyway, I got up around 6:15 that morning. Same as always. The bed next to me was empty, which wasn't unusual. Cora liked to get up before me, do her yoga in the living room, drink that disgusting green tea she claimed helped with her gut flora. I always joked it smelled like pond water, and she'd roll her eyes and tell me I wouldn't understand because my idea of wellness was a bacon cheeseburger. But that morning, it was too quiet. No yoga mat noises, no kettle going, no scent of her lavender oil diffuser she always turned on while stretching. I figured maybe she went out for a walk. So I got dressed, pulled on my work boots, grabbed a banana, and headed to the garage. That was my routine. I work maintenance at the Belridge Hotel, downtown Albuquerque. Been there 9 years. I fix pipes, patch walls, replace tiles, that sort of thing. Honest work. Pays all right. I'm 47, so I'm not trying to be a rock star, just want a roof over my head, a cold beer on Fridays, and a little peace. That's not too much to ask, right? I didn't even look at my phone until my first break around 9:30. I was fixing a broken toilet in room 312, on my knees with a wrench in one hand and cursing under my breath because the damn bolt was stripped. Then I checked my phone and everything just changed. The screen showed one message. From Cora. It read, "Don't bother coming home. You're dead to me." At first, I blinked. Thought maybe it was one of those texts you send by mistake. Or maybe she was trying to be sarcastic and missed the mark. But then I saw the time. Sent at 7:12 a.m. So it wasn't a drunk text or a misfire. She meant it. I stood there in that grimy hotel bathroom, gripping my phone like it had personally insulted me. My heart was pounding, but my mind was still trying to reason with it. I laughed a little, out loud. Some guy down the hall looked at me like I was nuts. I called her right away. Straight to voicemail. Tried again. Voicemail. I left a message, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hey, Cora, I got your text. Not sure what's going on, but call me back, okay?" I hung up and stared at the wall. Something wasn't adding up. We'd had some fights lately, sure. Nothing major. Stupid stuff, really. I forgot to replace the fridge water filter. She didn't like how much time I spent watching football on weekends. She'd complain I wasn't present, whatever that meant. But this was something else. I tried calling her again, and when that went nowhere, I called her sister. Veronica. Now, if I had to sum up Veronica in one word, it'd be judgy. Always looking down her nose like she just smelled something bad. But I figured she'd know something. Maybe Cora was staying with her. She picked up on the second ring. "Martin," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. I swear I could hear the smirk. "Yeah. Hey, is Cora with you?" There was a pause, then a little laugh. Not a laugh like haha. More like of course you're calling me, idiot. "You should have seen this coming," she said. My blood ran cold. "What do you mean? Where is she?" Another pause. "Gone, Martin. You really didn't notice?" "Notice what, Veronica?" "We had a fight last week about the damn thermostat, that's it." "She's done waiting around for you to grow a pair," she said. "She's not your maid. Or your mother." Jesus Christ, what did she tell you? Everything. Click. She hung up on me. I just stood there, hand frozen, holding the phone. My thumb was trembling. That's when it hit me, the bank. I called the bank next. I don't know why, but something told me to. The woman on the phone asked me for my security questions, went through the usual process, and then there was this long pause. "Sir, it looks like all the funds were withdrawn this morning." "What?" "Yes, everything from both joint savings and checking accounts. Total transfer of $132,700.34. It went to an external account." "What external account?" "I'm afraid I can't provide that information unless you're the primary account holder." "I am the primary account holder. According to our records, both names are listed." She had full access. I couldn't even breathe. That was our everything. That money was for retirement, emergencies, future plans. Hell, even if things got rocky, I thought we were still building something. But she'd taken it. All of it. I don't remember much after that. I think I told my boss I had a family emergency and left. I drove home like I was on autopilot. My hands were shaking so bad I had to pull over once just to calm down. When I got home, it was like a bomb had gone off. The closet was half empty. Some drawers were open. Her laptop was gone. The bathroom counter, where her 50 million skincare products used to live, was wiped clean. And sitting on the kitchen table, like a slap to the face, was a manila folder. Inside, divorce papers. Already signed. Filed. She'd used some online legal service. The kind that lets you initiate everything without ever stepping into a courtroom. There was no note. No explanation. Just that cold, heartless text. "Don't bother coming home. You're dead to me. I sat down at the table. Just sat there. I don't know how long. My phone buzzed again. It was a Wells Fargo transaction alert I hadn't turned off. $4,990 withdrawal from checking. Location, Santa Fe, New Mexico. Vendor, La Luz Boutique Hotel. That's when the panic turned to anger. I couldn't sit still anymore. I stood up, shoved the chair back hard enough that it scraped across the floor, and walked to the sink. I splashed cold water on my face, stared at myself in the window above the faucet. I looked older. Not tired, old. The kind of old that comes from disappointment you don't bounce back from. I dried my hands and pulled out the file again. Flipped through every damn page, trying to find something, anything, that might tell me why. Not legally, I mean emotionally, spiritually, humanly. You don't just leave someone like that, do you? We'd built a life. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Or at least I thought it was. I sat on the floor. Didn't want to be in a chair. Didn't want to be upright. Just sat there. My phone buzzed again. Another alert. $1,200, Southwest Airlines. I stared at it. She was going somewhere. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in the garage, chain-smoking cigarettes I hadn't touched since 2009, staring at the water heater like it had all the answers. My neighbor, Pete, came out at one point to throw out trash and saw me. He waved. I didn't wave back. I didn't want to talk. I didn't even want to be seen. The next morning, I called out of work. Said I had the flu. My boss, Rich, was decent about it. Take a few days, he said. Hope it's nothing serious. I could hear the concern in his voice. But what was I supposed to say? Yeah, Rich, my wife cleaned out our accounts, served me divorce papers, and told me I'm dead to her. All before I could even have a cup of damn coffee. No thanks. Instead, I opened my laptop. That's when I got smart. Or desperate. Maybe both. I started combing through our joint emails. She never changed the password. Or maybe she thought I wouldn't look. She had a whole folder called Wellness Journey. Inside were receipts, calendar invites, PDFs from some online personal growth program called Authentic Horizons. Then I found his name, Stuart Wendell. Email from him. Loved our time together in Taos. You glow more every time I see you. Attached was a selfie of the two of them, smiling like teenagers. Her head against his shoulder, both holding wine glasses on what looked like a balcony overlooking mountains. It was dated 2 months ago. I stared at the screen, my jaw clenched so hard it hurt. My wife had been having an affair. Not for a week. Not a fling. This was planned. Orchestrated. Another email, just last week. Just booked our flights to Belize. I know it's soon, but *CK it. You and me, finally free. Belize. My wife was running off to Belize with some balding self-help guru who wrote affirmations like, if you feel stuck, burn the damn map. I searched his name. Found a website. He was some kind of life clarity strategist, with a YouTube channel, workshops, and a smug, toothy smile like he sold timeshares in the 80s. I dug deeper. Found his LinkedIn. I hung up. I thought that would be the end of it. But the next morning, there was a knock at my door. And when I opened it, she was standing there. Hair a mess. Eyes red. Hands clenched into fists at her sides. Can we talk? I didn't say anything at first. Neither did she. We just stood there. Two people who used to share a bed, share holidays, share dreams. Now staring at each other like strangers in a standoff. She looked like hell. Sweatpants, oversized hoodie. My hoodie, I realized, one I hadn't seen since February. No makeup, and that kind of sallow, puffy-eyed look you get after you've cried too much, but still aren't done crying. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. I leaned against the doorframe. So what? You want to come in now? She flinched a little. Martin, can I just talk? I stepped back, just enough for her to walk past me. I didn't say yes, but I didn't slam the door in her face either. She walked in like she didn't know where she was anymore. Looked around like she was trying to remember what this house had been to her. Her eyes lingered on the couch, the kitchen table, the old painting of the Sandias we bought at that little craft fair in Corrales years ago. She sat down on the edge of the couch, like someone visiting a hospital patient. I sat across from her in the recliner, crossed my arms. She took a deep breath. I didn't expect this to happen the way it did. You mean the cheating, or the part where you drained the bank accounts and ghosted me by text? Her eyes dropped to her lap. Both. I shook my head. Why are you really here, Cora? Is it guilt? Damage control? You looking for some sympathy? Because if so, you're in the wrong place. She stayed quiet for a moment. I found out about the email. The one you and Nina sent to Stewart's company. Yeah, and he lost his job. He's furious. I laughed. Loudly. He's furious? That's Rich. He screws around with another man's wife, ruins 2 marriages, and he's the one who's mad. Cora rubbed her temples. You don't understand. No, I do. I understand perfectly. You wanted a new life. You just didn't want consequences. She looked up, her voice sharper now. You think I haven't paid a price? I lost everything too. No, you threw everything away. Her eyes burned. You think I just woke up one morning and said, hey, I'm going to destroy my life? No, Martin. I was dying in this house. In this marriage. You didn't even notice. Oh, here we go. I leaned forward. Because I didn't rub your feet and take you salsa dancing every weekend, I'm suddenly this hollow husk of a man? Jesus, Cora. I worked. I showed up. I was loyal. I know you were, she said softly. And that's what made it so hard. What the hell does that even mean? She looked at me, tears welling in her eyes. You were kind, steady, predictable, and I hated myself for wanting more than that. I felt like a monster. And so you became one. She recoiled a little at that, and part of me hated myself for saying it, but another part, the part that had to pull over on the side of the highway when I got the divorce papers, didn't care. There was a long, ugly silence. She finally spoke. He's gone now. What do you mean, gone? He left. Said I wasn't who he thought I was. Blamed me for his firing. Said I ruined his life. I nodded slowly. So now you've got no job, no lover, no plan, and you're here. That's not why I came. Then why? She swallowed. Because I couldn't sleep last night. And I kept thinking about the time you brought me soup when I had the flu. And how you held my hair back when I got sick on our anniversary after too many margaritas. And how even when I screamed at you for leaving the toilet seat up, you always apologized, even if you didn't do it. I didn't respond. I ruined us, she whispered. And I don't know how to live with that. I stood up, walked to the kitchen. I needed distance. Air. She followed. Martin, I don't want to fix things. I know we're past that. But I need you to know that it wasn't all fake. I did love you. For a long time. I stared at the window above the sink. Yeah. And when you got bored, you chose fireworks over firewood. You wanted big and loud, not warm and steady. She wiped her face. I was selfish. I know. And manipulative. And cruel. And cowardly. She didn't argue. I turned around to face her. You don't get to rewrite this story now just because it blew up in your face. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Good, I said. Because I'm not handing it out. We stood there in silence again. The only sound the ticking of the old wall clock and the faint hum of the fridge. Finally, I asked, so what now? She shook her head. I don't know. I just needed you to hear me say it. I needed to be human again, even if just for 10 minutes. I didn't say anything. Just walked past her, back to the living room. She followed slowly, her steps hesitant. I'm staying with Veronica, she said. I don't know how long. She's not thrilled with me either. I gave a small shrug. Guess there's not much market for homewreckers right now. That hit her harder than I meant it to. But I didn't take it back. She looked at me like she wanted to say something more, but nothing came out. Eventually, she turned and walked to the door. She stopped with her hand on the knob. I never thought you'd hate me. I don't hate you, Cora, I said. I just don't know who the hell you are anymore. Then she left. And for the first time in months, I stood in my house, completely alone, but without the weight of waiting. After she left, I sat on the couch and just listened to the quiet. It didn't hurt like it used to. Didn't echo like a cavern. It was still, like after a storm. Messy, sure, but peaceful. A week passed. Then two. I didn't hear from her again. Didn't expect to. I got my own checking account set up, started separating what little was left of our finances. Got a lawyer to finalize the paperwork she'd filed. Simple, quiet process. No contest. No mediation. Just signatures and silence. The house felt like a shed full of ghosts, so I sold it. Took a loss, but it was worth it. Every room felt like her perfume and old arguments. I packed up the things that mattered. My dad's fishing rod, my grandpa's old watch, a couple of framed photos from better times, and donated everything else. Furniture. Dishes. The couch she picked out in that overpriced boutique I always hated. Moved into a small 2-bedroom place up near the Sandia foothills. Nothing fancy, but I had a view of the mountains and a little porch I could drink coffee on. It felt like mine. I went to work. I came home. I slept. I started cooking again. Real meals, not frozen pizzas. And slowly, I came back to myself. Then one afternoon, about 3 months later, I got a text from Mina. Want to grab coffee? We met at the same diner. She looked brighter, happier, like a woman who stopped carrying someone else's mess. Over coffee and pie, she told me something interesting. I took your advice, she said. I raised an eyebrow. What advice? To stop being polite. I told Stuart I wanted a divorce. No arguing. No emotional speeches. I just told him I'd seen the real him, and I didn't want that in my life anymore. I smiled. Good for you. He cried, she said, stirring her cream into her coffee. Can you believe that? I could, honestly. Men like Stuart only cry when the mirror finally cracks. And, she said, I got the house. Full ownership. Turns out adultery still matters in some courtrooms. That must have felt good. It did, she said, grinning. But what felt even better? I took all the affirmation slogans he had printed and framed. Live your truth. Burn the map. All that crap. And I donated them to a thrift store. I laughed. Poetic. We talked for hours that day. Something shifted between us. Not romance, not yet, but something gentler, easier, like two survivors who finally realized they didn't have to limp anymore. Now, here's where it gets interesting. About a month later, I ran into a guy named Doug. one of Stuart's former coworkers. He was at the hotel for a conference, and we struck up a conversation at the bar. Wait, he said, after I told him my name. Martin Keller? That Martin. I blinked. What do you mean, that Martin? He laughed. Man, you're a legend over at Suncor. You're the guy who brought down Stuart Wendell. I laughed, too, but I was confused. That wasn't the plan. Doug leaned in. Well, you did. After he got fired, the partners started looking into his numbers. Turns out he'd been misreporting client hours. Nothing criminal, but shady enough that they cut ties completely. Wow, I said. Karma's got good aim. Oh, and get this, Doug continued. He tried to pitch that Authentic Horizons self-help crap as a corporate seminar. Total disaster. Nobody bought it. Word got around. Now he's pretty much blacklisted from the industry. I sipped my beer and nodded. Well, I guess he found his truth. Doug clinked his glass against mine. To poetic justice. A few days after that, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring. Then I listened to the voicemail. It was Cora. Hi, Martin. I know it's been a while. I heard you sold the house. Veronica told me you moved. I was just wondering how you're doing. She paused. I could hear her breathing, hesitating. I'm working at a call center now. Temporary, but it's something. I've been staying in a sublet. It's different. Lonely. I miss the quiet we used to have. The dinners. The dumb TV shows. I know you'll probably delete this. I'm sorry. For everything. She hung up. I didn't call her back. Not because I hated her. I didn't. Not anymore. But because I'd finally let go. 6 months later, I was sitting on my little porch, nursing a cup of strong coffee, watching the sun rise over the Sandias. My phone buzzed. A text from Nina. There's a chili cook-off in Corrales today. Thought you might want to come with me. Bring your appetite. I smiled. Only if you promise not to cry when I win. You're on, steady boy. I put the phone down, took a deep breath of that crisp desert air. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt like everything was exactly where it needed to be.